Hey all, Kevin with Forever Green Indoors, and we're doing segment 2 on learning how to grow your own food and flowers in the wintertime in your home or office. Last time we got together, we had planted seedlings of African marigolds, zinnias, and alyssum for our winter garden, and we had propagated them and put them into larger pots, and now we have some of the results for you here. This is an African marigold, and you can see there's a little bit of yellowing on the leaves, so we just didn't quite have the nutrition correct in the first couple of weeks, but we've increased the light levels, which we'll be talking about in later segments, and it's coming right back. And then here's one planted in a different style container. This is a Jiffy pot using Coco Coir, which is an artificial soil we talked about last time. This one looks great. So even under the same lighting conditions in a different medium, we're seeing different grow outcomes, which is not uncommon. So as we track our progress here of growing our own food and flowers indoors this winter, we'll be taking a look at success rate or the failure rate of these different grow technologies with this type of plant. Over the last couple of years, we've grown a lot of different things here in our test garden. We've grown strawberries, peppers, tomatoes, a variety of different kinds of lettuces and leafy greens, and we've learned a little bit each time, and we'd like to be able to teach you a little bit about what we've learned too. And today, we're going to spend some time talking about grow lighting. We've been manufacturing grow lighting for 10 years now, so we've learned a lot over the years, and what we've learned has been incorporated into all of our LED grow lights. That being said, this isn't a commercial to sell you our grow lights. This is still an education piece on learning how to grow food and flowers indoors. So grow lights come in a lot of different sizes and shapes. In fact, it's kind of bewildering. So we're going to try and make it a little bit easier for you. In this particular space, which is our test garden, we have 6 of our FGI Square 3 LEDs, which is a lot of light for a small test garden. But that gives us a ton of flexibility for growing different plant types and experimenting on how they react to light. There are 3 elements to LED grow lights that it's important to understand if you're going to get your garden built correctly. First one is light uniformity, and that's the area that the light will cover with photosynthetic light uniformly, so that every plant in that area is getting the same amount of light. The next one is light intensity, which is the amount of light that the light is putting off. That is going to also affect uniformity. So we want to give the plants the right amount of photosynthetic light for their growth stage and what they prefer in order to be maximally successful. And the final element is spectrum. And when we talk about spectrum, we're talking about the colors that the sun produces naturally outdoors. We want to replicate as much of that as possible cost effectively in order to give plants what they've experienced for tens of thousands of years. Let's flip the camera around over here to one of our workbenches where we have a variety of different LED lights, and we can talk a little bit more about design and performance to make your shopping experience easier. And because grow lights come in so many different shapes, sizes, diode configurations, and lighting intensity, it's important to understand what your target is so you don't over-invest or underlight your garden when you're making choices. One important concept to understand when you're going to buy a grow light is the amount of PAR output that the light will produce. And what that is the amount of photosynthetic active radiation being created by the light, based on where the plant is sitting. So it's the amount of sunlight, essentially, artificial sunlight, that's hitting the leaves at any given time. And it's measured with a device called a PAR meter, which we'll take a look at in a later segment. So I'm sitting here with one of our LED grow lights. This is an entry-level light for growing seedlings and young plants called our Flexiclone system. And it's 2 different bars. They're 4 feet long. They only use 25 watts, so it doesn't produce a high level of light output, but it's just the right amount of light for plants that prefer really low light, like orchids, some leafy greens, and plant starts, for example. This is our FGI Square 2. It consumes 200 watts, so basically 2 100-watt light bulbs. And you'll notice if you take a close look at it, that instead of one line of diodes down the middle of the bar, we have two, and in this particular case what we did is we wrapped the bar around twice. And what this product will allow us to do is cover a 2 foot by 2 foot area up to about a 3 foot by 3 foot area with photosynthetic light. So it's appropriate for a small space, and you can grow very successfully under one of our entry-level lights, and they're not that expensive. Now graduating up to the next size, we have our FGI Square 3 series of products, and this is the same as the FGI Square 2, but this is 300 watts, so 3 100 watt light bulbs and 3 rings of LED diodes with 2 rows each, plus the deep red and the far red additional energy. So this light will cover a 3 foot by 3 foot area up to about a 4 foot by 4 foot area. So as you can see, we're really starting to talk about the geometry of the light and the amount of area that it will cover. So these square style designs will cover square areas of photosynthetic light on plant canopy. The longer products, the longer bar style products, will cover linear areas. So depending on the size of your grow space, you'll scale it based on the width of your grow lights. And for example, this is a 320 watt grow light as well, but it's 4 feet long, so it's very long. It's composed of 3 bars with 3 strips of LED diodes down the middle, and these are usually placed side by side over an area as wide as 5 feet and as long as you want to go if you just connect one light to another. So this is a commercial grade 300 watt LED grow light used to grow commercial crops indoors. And here's another example. This light is 4 feet long, it's 18 inches wide. There's 3 panels on it that are tightly clustered diodes with the additional red diodes as well. And this is a commercial grade light that consumes 500 watts. So now as we step up into these higher watt output lights, we're going to create a lot more photosynthetic energy. We're going to cover a larger area, and this light is appropriate for rectangles, for growing rectangular spaces as opposed to the square spaces. And then the next level up, you're going to get into the very high watt output lights that are again designed for commercial gardens. These are very large lights that will cover up to a 5 foot by 5 foot area, and they're essentially just 2 sections of the light that I showed you earlier, but they fold open. So these are the big boys, and they're beyond what we're talking about for a casual gardener who's growing food and flowers in their own home. Thanks for tuning into segment 2. On segment 3, we're going to take the smaller plants that we've been working on, and we're going to put them into their final larger containers with artificial soils and start tracking their progress as we create a beautiful garden here in our office test garden at Forever Green Indoors.